Hey guys. So I'm finally back up here going to attempt to make the video on the Darlie Routier case fully today. And yeah, it was a lot more than I thought, having known about this case for over half of my life. I really thought that this would be a lot easier for me. But I am surprised at the amount I've learned since just trying to get together some notes for this. Anyways, we're just going to go through the timeline, and I'm going to go through this timeline from the perspective of Darlie, or at least from the perspective that we know she's given us. So we're just going to start there. That doesn't mean that that's exactly what happened or anything. I'm not stating anything as a fact. I'm just I'm going to start from that perspective, okay? And we'll see where this takes us. All right. So we're going to head back to the year 1996. We're in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas, a little town called Rolette. The date is actually June 6, 1996. So that's an interesting date to me. But anyways, Darlie is a young mother of three. She's 26 years old at this time. She has three sons, her youngest being Drake, who's 7 months old, and then Damon, who's 5, and Devin, who is 6, about to turn 7. And her husband, Darren. Darren is 28 at this time. Now, Darlie is a stay-at-home mom, and Darren is an entrepreneur of sorts. He ended up having his own computer business repairing mainline computers. So that was really awesome. A good start in life, something that takes some people a long time to do, being an entrepreneur can be up and down, up and down, up and down. So anyways, that's where they were in their life at that time. And, you can easily see from videos what they were portrayed to be: happy, kind of on top of their own world and stuff, all the things that young parents want to be. So anyways, that's where we were. And so it's 2:30 a.m. Darlie is sleeping downstairs on the couch with the TV going with her two oldest sons, Devin and Damon, who are asleep on the floor. And this is something that she did frequently at the time. It's not a weird thing at all to me. When you have a new baby, I don't have to explain this to you. When you have a new baby, you have an upstairs, a downstairs, you have a husband and a wife. You'll take turns, especially if you're not feeling good. And Darlie wasn't really feeling her best. She was suffering from a bout of postpartum from Drake, the youngest, the 7-month-old. And that's all there is to say about that. Don't look at any more into that than there is. I've been through it. So, a lot of people have been through it. It's really no big deal. Not that it doesn't matter. It's no big deal, but it doesn't say anything other than what it is. So let's go back. It's 2:30. She's sleeping on the couch with her two young sons, Devin and Damon. Now, she awakens on the couch from the nudge on her shoulder. And this nudge is from Damon, the 5-year-old. He nudges her and she's awake. She didn't see anything besides a man in front of her, her son. She's coming to. She gets up. She sees the man, follows him, realizes something is going on, starts seeing the house, the things askew. She starts seeing these things and yelling, and, all sorts of chaos is going on right now. Anyways, she calls 911 while also screaming for her husband, who is upstairs asleep with baby Drake. And she calls 911, 2:30. They arrive within 3 minutes. Excuse me. Her phone call to them, to the dispatcher, is pretty normal. She's freaking out. She's freaking out. She's saying things that don't make sense completely. She's not, I mean, she doesn't know what's going on. She's not making sense. And they get there within 3 minutes. And she's still on the phone with them, dispatchers, this whole time. And her husband, Darren, is downstairs by now, and he is starting to see what's going on. He runs outside, apparently, to across the street where their neighbor, who is a nurse, lives. And by then, just like almost immediately, the police are there. It's pretty cool. I live in New Orleans. They don't come, or they take hours at least. But they came pretty quickly. And while on the phone, she gives pretty much a little overview, like, hey, I was sleeping downstairs. This guy came in. She's hysterical. They stabbed my babies. Are dying. And yes, they were. Her babies were dying. They were definitely dying. So they both died. Damon died at the scene, like right after he woke up his mom. Right after he woke up Darlie, he passed away in the living room. And Devin, he crossed in the ambulance just shortly after he was picked up. So, anyways, she lets them know that there's an intruder. He went out the garage, and she gets taken to the hospital because she also was sliced right across her neck, and she's in the hospital for a couple of days. And it was 2 centimeters. It was 2 centimeters from her carotid artery, but also it was nicked. So she was bleeding profusely. Most of the blood was hers, like that was all around the kitchen. She was bleeding like hell, and she was stabbed in her dominant arm. Bruises all over. Bruises don't show up for a couple of days. We've all been there. But at the end of the couple of days when she left the hospital, she was you could see the extensive damage that was done to her, and she was lucky to survive. But all of this still didn't keep the hospital staff from describing her injuries, which was her throat was cut 2 millimeters from her carotid artery. They called it superficial. So make what you will of that. I understand what the word superficial means. It means it is surfacey. So that it was. I don't really the word superficial here. Anyways, so let's fast forward. 8 days after the attack, police are doing their jobs, right, trying to figure this stuff out, and she is doing what she's doing, and it's Devin's 7th birthday, 8 days after this. He wanted to be 7. That was something that everyone who knew him said about him, that he really wanted to be 7. And take a moment to just admire that, But anyway, so they're at, Darlie and Darren, the mother and father, they're at the graveyard for Devin's birthday because they want to be with him for his birthday. Now, police had undercover cameras there at the graveyard. I'm not sure if they had just cameras set up or if they had people there videotaping them like from behind. I don't know. That'd be weird. But anyways, it was filmed secretly, and Darlie's sister came and she brought silly string. She was the aunt, obviously, and she knew all about these boys. She knew what they liked, and she knew that this was a time to celebrate Devin. This wasn't a time to stand above his body and cry for what could have been. It wasn't the time for that. He wanted to be 7, and any mother in the world will tell you that comes first. That comes first. Now, everyone deals with things differently, but that comes first. And they did. They went to this graveyard and they sprayed silly string, and they talked and they laughed, and they had a service afterwards that was not goofy and not full of laughter, and there was no silly string in the service afterwards. But that wasn't any part of the evidence. So obviously keep in mind, that a big part of that tape was cut off. It definitely was. Now I'm looking at my notes. Excuse me. So, after this, let's fast forward to 12 days after the murder now. And this is June 18th, 1996. And Darlie is arrested. So clearly there was stuff going on that no one was sure about. Like, what's this evidence? What's this blood spatter? What do we make of all this? Well, it's the 90s. They're doing their best. They're doing their best with certain people in Rolette, Texas, who are doing what they know how to do, okay? And so they decide that Darlie has a motive. They decide that she has a motive, and her motive is money. Her motive is that not only is the injury on her neck superficial, but her entire life is superficial, so they say. Her hair, it's bleached blonde. Her breasts, they've been enhanced. And she wanted to live an extravagant lifestyle that was just above her means. And she just didn't have any way of acquiring that lifestyle. So, being such a materialistic woman, of course, she's just selfish. She thought, I'll get away with it like this. I'll say someone broke in. And that's what they said. They said that someone broke in. They said that she made up that someone broke in, and that, it was all just totally planned out. And so they went and arrested her. Now, let's see.